What's up in War Eagle War Report family? Your guy Ike Jones. I am here. It is game day on the plains. Neville Arena is welcoming, hopefully not so hospitably, the Bulldogs from Georgia in playing a rematch from the game earlier this season that Auburn was unable to capitalize on. First SEC game of the season. But it's time to maybe get some retribution back on the plains. Hopefully, you guys are having a wonderful day. We are about to get into this thing. Let's get into it, Prize Pick style, baby. PrizePicks.com is the place you can go for daily fantasy. Your guy Ike Jones here on the War Report. We are digging into this game, Auburn versus Georgia. You see here the prize picks that we've got going on. I put a little three play in place for Jalen Williams, Janai Broome, and Terry Roberts. Terry Roberts was a problem for us, no doubt, last time. I think that he's going to hit at least 2 3-pointers in this game. I've got Janai Broome going over here on 15.5, so needs to score 16 points. And then points, rebounds, and assists from Jalen Moore. Hopefully that cumulative thing will be up to 20 there. But we are going to lock that in with our prize picks card today. So hopefully you guys will head over to prizepicks.com. As always, you can go to prizepicks.com for your daily fantasy. A lot of great basketball going on today in the NBA and around college basketball. So you can definitely lock in some things there. There's some great plays available for you to be able to take advantage of. Once again, when you're doing your prize picks thing, all you have to do is select the player that you want to add to your card and then determine whether or not you think that that player prop will go above or less than what is shown there. So if you think Joel Embiid tonight will score 34 or more points against Orlando, you'd click more there. And you have to have at least 2 players on a card, and those players have to be from different teams. You can't have 2 players on the same team. And that be the entirety of the card. You can have more than 1 player from the same team, but you have to have at least 1 player from 2 different teams, 2 different sports, something in order to complete a prize picks card. But you can go ahead and lock yours in for Auburn. Definitely let us know what you've decided to do with your card. But War Eagle to everybody who's tapped in. If you are out there in the cyber world, make sure that you're sharing this video. Hashtag get your weight up at the War Report on Twitter or Instagram, or you can just add us on Facebook at the War Report. And we appreciate all of the shares that are going on out there. Like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you are locking in with your guys here at the War Report. And like the video right now before you get out of here. But yeah, say what's up, man. I'm in here talking a little basketball, Auburn versus Georgia. Again, Georgia was able to get the victory last time in the game. Auburn really didn't play very well in that game. Janai Broome really was the only guy who I felt like showed up really well in that game. I think this is going to be a game where Wendell Green is going to need to get back on the scoring column a little bit more definitively in order to kind of balance out what's going to be happening from the backcourt there of Georgia. Terry Roberts is absolutely a scoring machine right now, averaging 15.4 points per game. Definitely lit up Auburn in that last game. And then Oquendo is definitely a really good score for them, 13.1 points per game. So, and really that's the vast majority of their scoring, right? So the vast majority of their scoring is coming from those 2 guys, but they're only averaging just over 70 points per game. I say only just to highlight the fact that Auburn does have the ability to keep teams under their average. And I think that I've said this a lot of times, the magic number for Auburn tonight is going to be 65. You want to keep teams below 65 points so that you can go out there and try to match that total with a few more in case Auburn's struggling offensively. But definitely let me know if you guys have any predictions for tonight. Drop those right here in the live chat, and we'll talk a little bit more about this game as we get closer to tip-off. Tip-off tonight is scheduled for 6 p.m. on, this is scheduled on ESPN. So ESPN, 6 p.m. tip-off right there in Neville Arena. So yeah, definitely have your popcorn ready. I don't really even want to use that phrase. Lane Kiffin's ruined that for me. But definitely be ready for a good game. Auburn looking for some retribution in this game. Again, I do expect for Janai Broome to have another good game for Auburn. What you're going to probably see a lot because of the game he had the last time is a lot of traps, or they're going to try to attempt to double team the post. If they go to a zone against us in this game, I just don't know that that's going to be a winning proposition for them. So what I expect to see is a lot of double teams on whoever the post dominant person is, whether that is Janai or Jalen, to try to get the ball out of their hands, or at least get them to turn away. You heard Jalen Williams, if you watched the pregame presser, which is up on our channel right now, talk about how a lot of teams right now, when he and Janai are in there, they're trying to come and bring the trap to their right side to prevent them from turning over their right shoulder to their dominant hand, which is the left hand, and trying to force them to go right out of any post action that's happening. So I expect to see a little bit more of that tonight. Trying to get the ball out of his hand. Janai Broom talked about him needing to lessen the number of turnovers that he has, because that's going to be an emphasis. If he's going to get double teamed, he's got to make good decisions out of that, not rush shots because he feels the double team coming, but make the right pass out of that double team. So that's going to be super important. It's going to be important to see how Auburn deals with those double teams early. I think one of the things that Auburn can do a little bit better job of, and has been doing every now and then, is early offense, right? Don't allow them to set their defense in. Get down early, go into the post early. When I mean early offense, I don't mean taking quick shots. I mean getting into some sort of post set where you're getting the ball into Broom, Jay Will, early in the shot clock, and allowing them to operate before the defense gets set. And if they do try to scramble and bring those double teams, it makes it harder for them to figure out who they need to double off of. And then you're able to get better, cleaner looks out of that action. So, not necessarily having to push the ball, but not walk it up the floor, right? Get into the half court set early into your offense before they're able to get back and get their defense set. Could be a remedy for us today to be better. Got a chat here. I see you joined as a member. Says, "Yo, it's Cody Smith, the guy that shaved his head and had to make a new account." I see you in here, Cody. Appreciate you jumping back in here and making a new account and getting back on board with the War Report. We definitely appreciate you jumping in with us tonight. War Eagle to you. But yeah, I expect to see early how Auburn's going to handle those double teams. And I've got a video that I've been working on about how the double teams have been a problem for Auburn in games, and we've been turning the ball over out of them. Not so much because I think teams have done really a great job at what they've been doing, the double team. I just think Auburn has handled it poorly. Now, there have been some situations where the pick and roll double teams have bothered the point guard, specifically Wendell Green, just because of his size and not being able to see over the top of that. But for the most part, that's not been as effective as you might think. One of the things that we just haven't done well is getting good shots out of that first pass away. So there's some things I want to do on video. I definitely want to do a video once we have both of these Georgia games in hand, to just take a look at how Georgia's been doing defensively against Auburn, and some of the things that I learned from how Texas A&M guarded Auburn, and some things from how West Virginia guarded Auburn, and I think Auburn's going to see more often. I want to see if the pattern emerges again tonight with Georgia, and then I'll have a video talking about the pick and roll and the post double teams that people are utilizing to try to get Auburn out of the flow, and some of the things that Coach Bruce Pearl and company have done a really good job of countering things that they know teams are going to want to do to attack Auburn in the defensive end. And Auburn has done well as far as the execution. I just think they need to be a little bit more patient and not taking the early shots just because it's available. But we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into watching some of this basketball film. Again, I'll have it tonight, so maybe we'll do that tomorrow. There's still some more football film that I've got available, but maybe we'll get into some basketball stuff tomorrow with some of the pick and roll and the other double teams that I've been looking at in the post double teams that are happening. So maybe we'll watch that as to watch the film tomorrow. But you got to be a member to take advantage of those watch the film. So hopefully you guys can lock in with us. Corey Weber, I see you in here. War Eagle to you as well. Appreciate you jumping in. Cody, I have no control over the payment on the other account, so you need to contact YouTube support and get them to revoke that account from there. So unfortunately, we don't have really member controls like that in YouTube. So contact YouTube support and let them know that you want to shut it off, or if it's on the same card, they should be able to evaluate, hey, if it's drafting from the same card, only draft it. I don't know how you're going to do that one really well. Kevin Flaherty, excuse me, says War Eagle to you as well. Corey jumps in and says, would love to see more Trey in crunch time. Speaking of Trey Donaldson, this was actually a conversation on Twitter that I was having recently with Pablo Escobar. If you guys are familiar with him, I don't know how you're an Auburn fan on Twitter and aren't familiar with him. But he and I were having this conversation about a rotation that would include Wendell Green and Trey Donaldson on the floor at the same time, to have two dominant ball handlers in there to try to help with some of the traps and the presses that they're trying to apply. And I actually, and the more I thought about it, the more I actually liked the idea of this being a closing lineup for Auburn if you need offense at the end of the game. If you're trying to close on defense, I still think Zep Jasper is the best guy to have out there. And KD has played really well defensively. So you can definitely have him out there. But I do think potentially if you're trying to push tempo and you want to go against a team that's maybe pressing you a little bit more, that's a really good lineup to match up with, because Trey is a little bit stronger guard and he can stand up to some of the stuff that they want to try to do to push that guard out. And then you can have Wendell Green off the ball, who's a better shooter. So I think that's actually a really good thing to have in the end of games to close out, to be able to have a solid ball handler and still have your best point guard out there as far as distributing the ball, and just move him off the ball and get into maybe some late set action that they like to do in the pick and roll. So something that would be interesting to see. Kevin jumps back in. Can we get the oop to Berman tonight? I don't know if that's a great idea. I have seen Berman dunk the ball before. I don't know if he's catching lobs like that, though. Let's see. You guys are pretty much talking to each other right there in the chat. But yeah, man, really great basketball hoping to see tonight. Got to get this win streak going again. Snap the win streak last time Texas A&M did when we had them in Neville Arena. Got to start that streak back up. What a better way. There's no better way in my mind to do it than avenge a loss from earlier in the season against Georgia in preparation for the next home game, which is going to be a war against Alabama. So back to back against your biggest rivals. Albeit football rivals, but definitely biggest rivals in the arena. So hopefully we'll be able to get back into winning ways at home. Again, tip off here in just about 18 minutes from Neville Arena. Auburn taking on the Georgia Bulldogs, trying to get retribution. Georgia is only 2 of their last 5 games here. I mean, Auburn's only 3 of their last 5, with taking 2 losses in a row. But losses to Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky, they went into overtime with South Carolina. So of those teams, really, I mean, Vandy's just an okay team. Kentucky's been a little up and down, but they were able to get them in that game. They only scored 62 points against Ole Miss, which is not a great team. And then they needed overtime to beat South Carolina. Again, not a great team. So Auburn should be in a good position to be able to take advantage of a team that's struggling to score if they can lock down on defense. The big problem for me in the last game against Georgia is just we weren't defending the guards very well. I mean, they had clear lanes to the basket early in that game. And then once they got the dribble penetration stuff going, their drive and kick stuff was working really well. And Terry Roberts was just shooting kind of unconscious at one point in time in that game. So I think we can play a little bit better against their guards, which has been an Achilles heel for this Auburn team so far this season, dominant guards. We can play better against those guards. We can have a fighting chance to really make this an embarrassing game for Georgia. But I don't want to pick any embarrassments until I see Auburn go out there and mop the floor with a decent team, which they really haven't done so far this season. Signs maybe the Arkansas game, who is a decent team, not a great team. But hopefully we'll do a better job this time. Cody jumps in with another super chat. Appreciate the super chat. Jaden Lewis, Mr. Cobb, let's go. Speaking of the recruits that we were able to land today, a lot of conversation will be happening about that tomorrow night. For those of you that don't know, we're not doing our typical midweek report tonight because of the game. We are going to be doing that a special Thursday session again this week tomorrow. So we will be talking about the recruits landed here on National Signing Day, including a basketball recruit that we were able to land for the 2024 recruiting cycle. So great job by Bruce Pearl and company getting another guard in, something that people have been clamoring for. We now have locked in for next season 2 scoring guards. So if both of them stick with their commitments, there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to put points up on the board next year from the guard position. So it's going to be interesting to see how those true freshmen merge in with the guards that we have and where those minutes are going to come from. I mean, you're going to lose Zep Jasper, but listen, Trey Donaldson's been a breath of fresh air. You're still going to have both KD and Wendell Green on this team. And so you're going to lose Flanagan, right? So you're going to lose an off guard, and maybe you can start a smaller lineup. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how Coach Pearl decides to do that. And it's going to be interesting to see, minus Jalen Williams, who will be gone. Your seniors, Flanagan and Williams, won't be on that team. Chris Moore will still be there. He'll still have another year of eligibility that he can take advantage of. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how the team shapes up, having those 2 dynamic scoring guards coming in, and hopefully a Chance Westry coming into being fully healthy into a season, who can play an off guard position. So we should actually have like 6 guards that should be able to handle the ball really well and be able to play solid defense and be a little bit bigger this year, this coming season, and be able to score from that guard position. But then it's going to be, who are going to be the big men, right? Who are going to be the guys that can handle down low. Janai Broom will be able to come back next season. Hopefully he will return for another year next year. But you do lose a lot with Jay Will not being in that rotation. So is Johan Traore ready to take the next step? Simo can play that 3 to 4 guy, but he's going to be a small 4. So you're going to need Traore to really be a 4-man in that rotation. And Dylan Cardwell, I think, will have another year of eligibility. Is he going to round into form and play that last year? So it's a lot to be seen about the Auburn basketball team going into the next season. Let's get back in here. Corey Weber asked, how do we defend UGA differently than we did last time out? Great question. I talked about this a little bit. As far as the guard play is concerned, I do think that we will see a little more zone from Bruce and company this game, just to allow us to not have to go find people, because how Georgia, when I talked about early offense for Auburn, that's actually how Georgia attacked Auburn, was to get down the floor early and push in what they call a secondary break, right? Not necessarily fast break, though they did have a lot of fast break points because we were turning the ball over a ridiculous amount of times in the first half of that game. But limit the turnovers and allow yourself to get back and sit into maybe a zone defense, and then just contest, right? You just have to contest shooters and make sure that you're not giving them wide open looks from 3. If they knock them down, so be it. Keep it moving. But you want to try to limit the number of open looks that they get and the number of fast break points that they can get. If we can limit the number of turnovers, I think that we'll be in a better position defensively if we get back into that zone and not having to scramble around as much. Kevin Flaherty says, any update if Moore is close to 100%? I don't know if he's close to 100%. Hopefully he is getting a little bit better. He has looked a little shaky these last couple of times. So hopefully he's rounding back out into form and can get back into the groove a little bit. Steve Valentine says, forced him to take 3-point shots. That's what I'm talking about with the zone, right? Like, they're a 33% shooting three-pointer team on the season, but they kind of shot above. Like, there's a lot of teams that are kind of shooting above their average when they play Auburn, even with good contests from Auburn, just because we do have smaller guards. So it doesn't feel like the same kind of contest that would happen if you had a taller guard out there. But you do want to make sure that they're taking tough shots, contested threes, and then just be able to secure the glass. So I do think that we're going to see a little bit more zone in this game. We've been playing more zone of late to try to help with being able to guard the paint a little bit better, and then not have to worry about trying to find a guy in rotational stuff, because we've been doing that a little shaky. Corey jumps back in. Still don't understand Moore taking minutes from Traore. I don't know what's happened with Traore these last couple of games. He had one of his better games against LSU, and then his minutes disappeared when Chris Moore got back into the rotation. So, I just have to trust Coach Pearl and company about what they are doing in their evaluation there. Steve Valentine echoes and said he'd like to see more of Traore. Let's see here. Cody says, call me crazy, but I'm glad we're losing right now. Last year we peaked too soon and fell off fast. Bruce is the man on fire right now. Let's go. I'm going to have to agree that I think it's better for them to take a couple of L's right now so they can realize that they've got some things to work on, as long as they're able to close strong. I still don't know that we've seen a team, a complete Auburn team, play a complete 40 minutes of basketball yet. And at this point in the season, you have to wonder, is this the best that we can possibly play offensively? I just don't know that all of the elements that can click have clicked at the same time. We know that Wendell Green can put in, double digits, 20-point games, right? We know that Janai Broom can do that. We know that Jalen Williams can do that. We know that we can get quality shooting from the outside. We haven't seen a game where those 3 guys, who are the primary scorers for this team, have all gone for 15 plus with efficient shooting. So we got to get back into a place where we're able to. That is my computer over here trying to tell me, get some sort of advertisement popping. We got to get back into a place where we're getting quality, double-digit scores. Flanagan, right? If we can get those 4 guys that I just named in double digits, I think that we can comfortably win most games. But it's really going to come down to efficiency in the half court and not turning the ball over. Steve Valentine says, that would be awesome, Ike. And I hate to lose Zep, such a defensive playmaker. Zep Jasper is a dog on defense, man. And he's one of those guys that is valuable. I do think that Trey might have a little bit of that in him. Trey Donaldson, and I know Chance Westry has that defensive dog in him, right? So if we can get those two young men playing at that Zep Jasper level, and you got to remember Zep's a fifth-year senior, right? Or might be even a sixth-year senior at this point in time. So he's had a lot of games under his belt, but he's just been committed to the defensive end. So if we can get some guys that are in that mode, I think KD Johnson can give you that kind of defensive energy. He's not as locked down just because he's not as sound technically as Zep Jasper is with his feet. But KD's a good passing lane guy. He's, he's got really active hands. So hopefully he can give us some defensive energy as well. All right, guys, we are about 10 minutes away from tip off here. I am about to get out of here. I appreciate you guys locking in with us really quickly. Make sure you got your TVs tuned to ESPN. We're going to hopefully get out of here with a good day on the Plains. Neville Arena is going to be going crazy tonight to welcome, again, not so hospitably, the Dogs back into town. Auburn versus Georgia tipping off here in just about 9 minutes. You guys make sure you lock in with me on Twitter, TWR Ike Jones. I should be live tweeting during the game. Looking forward to seeing a great game from the Auburn Tigers. All right, I'm about to get out of here. I will see you all tomorrow night, being back with the midweek rapport with the rest of the guys. Until then, as next time, War Eagle, I'll holla at y'all. Peace.